Good morning. This is Ian, and that's Jeff, and we're here with the AutoHub show. This is one of the videos that we shot at NADA. If you're curious as to what we've shot, I'll have them all up hopefully by the end of the week. But here we go. This is one of our ambush interviews.
We did not shoot any big game because Ben Stock avoided our booth, as did Lundy. So
Here we go. This is Scott Davis. Oops.
The beauty of live shows is things sometimes don't work.
Why is it not playing it? That's weird.
Ready, set, go.
Coming to you live, it's the AutoHub show with Ian and Jeff. Here we go.
Hola. What?
Hello, this is Ian.
And this is Jeff, the AutoHub show here, as we're winding down NADA 2023. And we have a new friend, a new AutoHub show friend here from is Scott. And I'll get you introduce your company and the rest of you, because I want to get it right.
Yeah, hi, Scott Davis from Volley. We're a Fort Myers-based Florida company, and we're excited to meet you guys.
Tell us a little bit about I'm tired, partied too much last night. Tell us a bit about your company, what you do, and of course, why you're better than everybody else.
Boy, that's Volley is an automotive call center platform. So we work with automotive call centers, automotive vendors, and then we power BDCs for about 400 dealers in the United States, and it's an all-in-one solution. We help the dealers by helping them manage inbound, outbound calls, increase their productivity greatly. We give them visibility into the most important, most expensive part of their BDC, their agents. They track all their time, and we eliminate a lot of the manual work for the managers. So we love what we do.
Well, that's good. And of course, automation is what it's about these days, right?
Yeah, and for those who don't understand what BDC is, BDC stands for Business Development Center, or in some cases they would call it a Customer Care Center. So if you own an automotive dealership and you're not taking care of your customers, you need to do that. That's what BDC is all about. But more importantly, you really need to look at ways to automate that, and that's what Volley is all about. My question, though, being that we see so much technology today, is where do you see the future of BDCs going, especially on the technology side, since that's what you're doing?
Yeah, there's a big push to bring BDCs back in-house. Our timing was good. We're accidentally good. We're going on our third year with lower inventory. The dealers are realizing that retention and their loyalty scores need to improve, and they're taking a lot of that in-house. So, we'll see. People say that maybe they're going away from the phone a little bit. The phone is still a good way to contact people. We are omni-channel, call, email, and SMS, but obviously the BDCs are taking inbound calls, making outbound calls, etc. So I think there's a good need for it, and it's good timing. So.
You mean people, even young people, know how to use a phone as a two-way communication device?
Oh man, you're right there, boy. It is amazing how my 16-year-old actually was telling me he was talking to someone, and I said, "You actually called him?" He said, "No, Snapchat." But yes, everyone needs to use the phone. So thanks for that, Jeff.
So what you're telling me is you don't train your people to train your clients to leave voicemails for anybody under the age of 30.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're the chassis. I mean, we're software that they use, and so we help them execute their strategy. They can personalize all that. When they're not on an inbound call, we've eliminated 100% of the time in between a phone call. They queue up the next most important call they want the agent to make. The goal is to make the agent at least 85% efficient of their time on the phone. If they're using desk phones, the cost of an agent has doubled in a very few short years, while the technology hasn't improved until Volley. Desk phones are hard to manage, so we help improve the productivity.
So obviously it's a 2023 NADA. I'm assuming you were at NADAs in the past. What do you think about Dallas versus Las Vegas, and what do you think is changing in the way the people you're dealing with, their perception of the show this year?
Well, I'm kind of boring. So I wasn't looking for the shows in the nightlife in Las Vegas, but really I thought they did a great job. NADA did a great job. The shuttles ran on time and all those things. The dealers were very serious and they came for a purpose, the ones who came today. And I was pretty impressed, actually. Las Vegas is fun, but I enjoyed this.
Fantastic. Jeff?
Well, you know what? It's very funny because a lot of people like to go to Vegas just because you said it, the parties, et cetera, et cetera. But, you know, I can see Vegas, they should be better at big conventions because they do some of the biggest. But I agree, this was done very well. Although I have to admit the shape of the building means you have absolutely no clue how big it is. You know. And the other thing, though, you mentioned was something we talked about earlier. Day 3 seems to be a day about business, isn't it? Versus a day about walking around.
Yeah. Actually, though we're pretty quiet right now. We've had quite a few people come and find us today, which in past years at NADA, I never knew whether anyone would. Really, it's still very quiet, but I can't complain.
Well, we've always talked about in the retail end of the car business, you got a ton of people and nobody's buying. Well, you look busy.
So that's it for the video. If you wanted to see the whole thing, you can check it out on YouTube shortly. I'm going to be uploading most of the edited stuff later today. So let's get into our sponsor reel. And good morning.
Please. Ready.
Wait, I'm
Set.
on.
Go.
Coming to you live, it's the AutoHub show with Ian and Jeff. Here we go.
Who said you can't teach an old dog new tricks? Hi, I'm Gail Rubenstein, the founder and CEO of a company called Retail Resilient, social selling for the car industry. And we help auto dealers, auto agencies, and vendors in the auto industry sell more cars, service more cars, and make more money using our social selling strategy. That includes TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and anything else you can think of. So if you're looking to invest thousands and make millions, we're definitely the social selling company for you. Like I said, who said you can't teach an old dog new tricks?
I was at Larry Coleman's seminar. So happy I came, having such a good time. Thank you so much, Larry.
One of the best trainers in this area for sure. I don't know about anywhere else, but as far as I know, he's the best. So, told you twice. Take advantage. Thank you for having me here.
I'm at Larry Feldman's seminar, and what I found is that what he's really good at doing with his knowledge and with his training, he's not filling a bucket, he's lighting a fire.
Ways to improve. Every month we want to improve better on what we did the month before, maybe the year before. It's about how fast we can get the cars done with quality work to get it to the front line, because that's where we make our money. And the bottom line is the longer it takes, the more money you spend. We want to get it down as low as possible. Right now, like I said, we're in a great stage. We're at 4.5 days. In recon, we want to know how quickly we can get the cars out of the recon process and to the front line. The average days in recon and then the time to line are the most important things that we look for. I'm Mike Burrell, and Service Director at JM Lexus.
And for those of you who weren't at NADA, Rapid Recon is now owned by a new company called Volley. They also own Dealer Velocity. And we actually did an interview with Hugh and his wife. So if you want to check that out, you can. And there'll be more changes as we move forward. A couple books. I just thought I'd do some car books since it is NADA/customer experience. $1 Million Classics, Speed Read, Supercar, and Car. Jeff, go ahead with our disclaimer.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We've had a week to recover from NADA and everything else. And our show today was actually supposed to be a sponsored show with a company called VidCall, who's got a tremendous product. But the gentleman from there had lost an argument with a branch on his tree. So it wasn't in any shape to to be here. He's okay, just he's not really in fine video shape. So we're looking forward to having that because we want to share that with everybody. It's quite cool. However, we are so pleased to have everybody join us to share their opinions today. And before we get those opinions, though, we have to deal with the disclaimer because sometimes our guests can be controversial. And so the opinions shared here are those of the guest and not necessarily that of the AutoHub show or Ian and Jeff. Ian.
Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, Joel will be on in the future. Check out vid calls. Really interesting technology developed for the healthcare industry that's now in the car industry. And if you have questions, just reach out to us. Happy to connect you with a free trial of that product. Really, really cool and simple. So obviously NADA just happened last week. It's been a little bit of a whirlwind in a new city, Dallas, which was interesting just because I've been to many in Vegas, but I don't think I've ever been to one outside of Vegas. It's the largest convention Dallas has ever had. So there were some challenges to deal with that, but definitely a different flavor. And Jeff and I were able to go to a couple different parties, including one for Digital Airstrike, which was pretty impressive. Just they brought a serious thing. But anyway, here we go. And future customer experience show / NADA show. So let's get into it. Jeff, go ahead.
Well, thanks again. Remember, our mission statement is that we're trying to improve dealers one show at a time, which we like to do. And I also want to say that our sponsors are very, very, very precious to us. So please look into them. And they got some great stuff, and it's not just beagles and testimonials. So our guest today, and we actually have a variety of guests here. By the way, one guest, Tim Hayden from Brain Trust Partnership in Austin, will be joining us in a few minutes. Something happened, and considering they went through a giant, he's pretty good. Actually, speaking of the devil, he is just joining us. So seeing as how he's beeped in, I'm going to hit him right away before he's had a chance to warm up. Actually, I won't. First of all, I'm going to introduce Peter Smith from Lion Partnership in, speaking of another place that just had a natural event he didn't know about, which is an earthquake in the Niagara region. Peter, say hello, and I'd like you to, after you introduce yourself, just say your number one takeaway from NADA was.
Well, thank you for having me on again. It's always a pleasure to share the screen with so many professionals in the automotive industry here. NADA this year was my first opportunity to attend, and I can't say that it was a disappointing thing at all. It was actually almost overwhelming on how great it was. But I would say the number one thing that I took away from NADA was the intelligence gathering from the people I met. The networking, the workshops, everything, just gathering the intelligence that would be not normally be able to be had in this short period of time was the biggest thing I got out of it.
Perfect. Well, thanks for being here. We greatly appreciate it. And now we will go to Tim Hayden, and hopefully Tim is there and ready to go.
I am.
Perfect. So this here is next we have Tim Hayden, who is joining us from Brain Trust Partners.
That's right.
In Austin, Texas, the land where they learned that what Canadians live with all the time, which is ice. And please introduce yourself and tell us your number one takeaway from NADA.
Well, as I've shared on this show a few times, at Brain Trust, we work across many different verticals, not just the automotive industry, in helping people meet the needs of wrangling all their first-party data. And that right there, my friends, is what I was impressed about at NADA, is that while the industry that is retail automotive is still, to a fault, deftly and almost intensively solely focused on top of the funnel, right? How do I move more metal? There actually was plenty of presence throughout the show, people that were seriously talking about data and unifying and systems integration, the things that I've been barking at them for years to do. So I just think it couldn't happen at a better time with here in the States. what the Federal Trade Commission is going to do with the data safeguard rule in June, which happens in the same 2-week period as Google throttling everybody by killing Google Analytics and moving everybody to GA4. So was really impressed at NATA that people are ready to talk about these kind of things. Let's just see if they actually do it.
Perfect. Well, thank you. It's a very interesting thing, I actually have to say, that I thought of something as you're talking there, and it says, NATA should be, instead of NADA, standing for dealers, it should be National Association of Data Acquisition, because data is a very good thing. And the one thing we also commented on too is at the show, if you would have gone there 20 years ago, probably 20% of the booths would have been digital related, and the rest would have been hands-on stuff. And a lot of the stuff that really it was a bigger deal before isn't now. Although I have to admit, I quite enjoyed watching the Ford Expedition spinning around like 30 feet above everybody, although I wouldn't stand below it. So that was really quite the thing. We also have joining us live for the first time, and if you'd like to mention something here, is Doug Reeves from A to Z Think. And see, I didn't say the Canadian version, A to Z, and Doug's company, he'll tell you a bit more, is very customer experience oriented and was quite excited about the customer experience show. However, NADA, we got some questions here dealing with that, but NADA is about everybody's experience, and in the end, whose is it? Doug, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself and telling us what your number one takeaway was.
Yeah, sure. Appreciate the time, guys. Doug Reeves with A to Z Sync. And, the number one takeaway, I kind of reiterate what some of the others have said, is seems like a lot of people were looking at a new game plan, and a lot of dealers seem to be focused on tech audits, taking a look at the technology they currently had and taking a look at redundancies and trying to figure out a way that they can streamline things, because I think the new reality is starting to crash home, which is those robust profits of yesteryear are going to be going away, and I need to adopt a better, more streamlined and cost-efficient process. And that seemed to resonate with an awful lot of people that we spoke with.
So what you're telling us is, hey, there's the car, it's 12 grand over MSRP, there's $8,500 in fees, and it's yellow. So that's gone away.
Indeed. All of a sudden, customers have choices, and customers have maybe a little bit closer to getting back in the driver's seat, so to speak.
Yeah, no kidding. We had a dealer show about 3 weeks ago, and they were commenting that the leads they're now getting aren't, do you have a car? And they're now, what's your best price again? So that's a very interesting thing. And I think your products and your company's expertise is going to make a lot of difference to people.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. Ian.
Yeah, I mean, I also have to comment that we had a lot of different vendors this year. We didn't get a chance to see all of them because we were at the Rapid Recon booth for a lot of it, but we did meet a really interesting gentleman who happens to own a Western gear supplier selling hats and boots.
Wow,
and
Bill.
Yeah, and he had a really interesting comment. He says, strangers are just people I haven't met yet, which I thought was pretty interesting. But anyway, who will ultimately benefit from the sessions, products, and meetings at NADA, I guess, is the next question for everybody. But more importantly, when you look at the mix this time, and I'm comparing it to the show in 2022 in Las Vegas, I saw a lot bigger presence in digital, but more importantly, a very much pared down scale in some of the vendors. I thought that was kind of interesting as well. So, Peter, what's your opinion on who's going to benefit from these sessions?
Well, the people that will benefit from NADA are the people that engage in NADA. It's like any show. You can just show up and walk around, but if you don't engage, you're never going to benefit from the opportunities that are presented. Like, I personally went to probably 5 or 6 CRM/DMS booths that I was very familiar with the operations of, but if I was the dealer and say, oh, well, I know CDK and I know Reynolds and I know this, and didn't go in and see what the new opportunities were, they're never going to benefit of having that opportunity to see everyone at once and do the side-by-side comparison. So the people that benefited are the people that engaged, and that's the true essence of what we're trying to build with the people in this industry now is engagement. We have to get the dealers to engage, otherwise they're not going to get the data, as Tim says, clean and back to the people to operate on a plateau that has never been seen before.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that when we interviewed the team at Experian Automotive. Not only did we learn a lot about Experian, we learned a lot about sort of what their initiatives will be in 2023, which we weren't really familiar with. So that's a great takeaway, in my opinion. Tim, what do you think?
Well, I think that's Peter said it best. I mean, it's like anything in the trade show or the convention world that if you didn't even do your homework on the front end, right, just to find out what was going to be on the floor or what was going to be in the classroom or the workshops, and really schedule, get your calendar lined up to where you were making the most of your time once you were there, then you're not going to learn a whole lot, because there are just a whole lot of familiar incumbent brands and things being said there at the show if you just simply walk through it. I still think at the end of the day, what we did see from some of those big, everyday names from the DMS world, the folks that have tried to come in and solve every problem. And I look at Doug, because I know what Doug's doing, and he's not trying to throw good technology on bad technology. He's doing something different there. But when I don't mean to say it's bad technology, I was very impressed with everything that I saw. It's just that this is a different time and a different age for the industry with everything that's happening. And I just think that collective conversation that happened in the booths with people that were diligent on where they wanted to be and who they wanted to speak to, they're the ones that left Dallas probably best informed and best ready to make a difference this year.
Doug, what do you think? I mean, obviously Cox was there at scale, as were others. What's your takeaway?
No, I agree with what was said earlier. I mean, Tim's spot on. What we found is it wasn't the quantity of conversations that was had, it was the quality of conversations. It seemed to be a little bit different this time. It seemed to be a little bit more focused. It seemed as if, Vegas to me was like a big circus and everybody's running around and was happy to be back at an NADA, but people seem to come to Dallas looking for something and trying to gain some knowledge. And as a result, as I said, I do think that the quality and the depth of the engagement was a lot more substantial this year than it was in past years.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I always think the third day is one of the best days, especially in Vegas, in my thing, because people have already seen everything at that point, want to get some value. But I would say that traffic was pretty consistent, but more importantly, there was a lot of very interested parties, which generally doesn't happen as much in Vegas because there's so much distraction. I mean, I think the advantage to Dallas was, it doesn't have the same scale of distraction. But what do you think, Larry? I mean, you've been pretty quiet. What do you think about how would you compare Vegas versus Dallas?
Tremendous amount of interaction. I know I personally got to meet and hang with a lot of people that I was extremely grateful for. We're in an interesting industry. Not only are we incredibly resilient, but while the salespeople may not get it, most owners, GMs, GSMs, and smart vendors understand how important it is to network. So if you consider the amount of handshake and information traded, I thought it was great. I mean, there's guys on this show that I can't wait to do business with and talk to again. So I thought the whole thing was terrific. And I heard some complaints and some moans and groans. I don't get any of that stuff. You put a lot of people that were like-minded that want to be successful and move forward in the same room. I didn't get it. Tim, I always think what my father said, God bless those that wish me well and all the rest can go to hell, Right. These things are what you make of them. If you go in with an open mind and you want to have a good time, great. If not, you always find something to bitch about.
Yeah, fair enough.
Right.
So
Hi, Doug. It's nice to meet you.
our team engaged at NADA virtually, which is something a lot of vendors don't do. So we literally engaged with them through social media, and we didn't even physically show up. And we had quite a few dealers engage with us through social. So we pin dropped the location where all of you guys were. We put out content that the dealers could engage with, and we ended up booking demos virtually because we knew they were busy running around. But it's interesting because we engaged in a different way, and I had a lot of people reach out and they were like, why aren't you here? I want to give you a hug, or why don't you have a booth here? But we just decided, let's see what we could do virtually with our clients. So it was kind of interesting.
Fantastic.
Well, I do have to say that number one, your feet didn't hurt, so that was my complaint. But you know, the fact is that it actually turns out to be a good idea because, as Tim mentioned, some of these conglomerates, and the gentleman that we had on the video that we opened with, literally right across from him, I think it was Coramian, and they do 62 different things, including his product. And nice hat, Tim. And they, if you think about it, sometimes those massive booths, and I found, I think with the north end of it, the A hall was full of some of the big booths, and the littler booth was gone. And even Four Eyes, which is a moderately bigger company, got lost amongst these massive booths. So in a way, Gail, your idea works.
I don't know. It was interesting because I worked at Cox, right, for part of my career, and I used to work NADA for Cox, and I was slammed like 14 hours a day doing demos. And I didn't, you know, we set up booths at Digital Dealer and driving sales, but we've never done NADA. So maybe we will one year, but I don't know. I've done both, virtually and physically been there.
Maybe the interesting
for a speaker.
Maybe Stephanie has a comment.
Thing about the virtual was I didn't realize till I actually got there that Ian Nethercott does not exist. He's strictly virtual. I talked to Jeff Polo about it. He says it saves on lunch money. Very odd. They just took a really smart computer program, gave it a Canadian accent, and stuck it next to Jeff.
Well, I want to acknowledge our tech guy for that, and that's Ensign Chekhov. So he just beams them in virtually. So everybody that we had on here, speaking of Gail's comment, everybody had a different level of presence. You know, I mean, Doug had a booth, a real booth, and Gail was literally there virtually. And Tim and Peter, you were, you know, Larry was everywhere. Like Larry was everywhere. He posts, where's Larry? He should have posted something where he's running around. He's the belle of the darn ball. He's got pictures with people that I don't even think he even knew existed. So,
and Stephanie's here too, Jeff. Maybe she has a comment about Rapid Recon at the show this year.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hi.
I didn't know you were there.
I popped in. I popped in a little bit late. Sorry about that.
That's okay. So what's your comment this year on NADA?
NADA was great. You know, we had more action this year than we've had in other years. I think it's because of the lack of NADA, you know, a couple of years, and people were really excited to get the new products. I also feel like people are paying a lot more attention to their reconditioning, and they're realizing it's a big deal, and they don't have an option. So they need to get it figured out. So we saw a lot of action this year. It was a great show for us.
Fantastic. Not to mention you won an award for the booth.
We did. We got best booth, yeah, for our size booth. So
congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I had nothing to do with the planning on that. Just ran the booth itself, but we got all the kudos to our booth guy. It was great.
Yeah, well, we were honored to have shared a tiny corner of that, and it made a difference for everybody. So,
yeah, it was great having you guys there. I'll tell you what, you guys had action. We had people the entire time on the show. It was great to have you guys there too. So we appreciate you being there.
Well, thank you. We intended to have a couple of your ladies that were stationed in the corner near us and have them on an interview, but they were like man, they were constantly busy grabbing people and pulling them in. And I have to say that we had a lot of people that said, well, tell me about your product. And we grab them and take them over to somebody. But so Doug, how do you think your presence there paid off?
I think in a couple of ways. There was certainly a new awareness about what we were doing. So that was kind of nice. We had a bigger booth this year, which was helpful. Last year we were packed into a smaller booth, so it was kind of a circus in Vegas. We also tried something different this year. We co-opted some of our booth with Rock Ed, and they brought a different type of people in who were looking for training and looking to engage with them. So that kind of widened the spectrum. But overall, I think that what we found was that much to our surprise to a degree, the one-person sales model still has an awful lot of traction. There's an awful lot of interest. I was amazed at how many people came in looking to learn simply about that, more so than we anticipated. I think a lot of dealers are starting to look at that. So it was nice to know that what we were doing still has an awful lot of traction with an awful lot of people, and probably will gain a lot of that in the coming year.
So you mean by the one-person sales, mean at on the dealership level, relationship with a single individual?
Exactly, letting a salesperson take a deal all the way through from lead to delivery and really capture that relationship and really work hard on that. And I mean, the results are staggering, but it's a titanic shift for a dealer who's been doing it one way for a long time. But those that came in realized that while the scope of it seems enormous, the fact that you can actually do it and that we help you with that was very well received. I think a lot of people sighed a deep sigh of relief saying, okay, it can be done. Great.
Well, I think
so it's kind of back to the future, because when I got into the car business in 1988, you did everything yourself. Matter of fact, before all these crazy laws and regulations, you used to sign people up your desk and handwrite the buyer's orders. By the way, one other thing, Stephanie, I was a guest with Ian and Jeff. They get tax credits for hiring mentally disabled people like myself. The ladies that work with you were unbelievably nice and charming. Simone and a bunch of others. We had a ball, absolute ball, interacting with them. The only complaint I heard was Jeff Polo, who complained there was no M&Ms at the booth. So you may want to take that into consideration for
yeah, Jeff needs chocolate.
Hey, we had your covered patties. I'll tell you that we had some chocolate.
Well, we didn't see M&M, but we did see Nelly. We have to. So Peter.
Yes.
This was a first time for you, I do believe, and you came there as probably the best dressed guy in the entire, best dressed person in the entire show, other than the lady from one of the companies we interviewed, which is a quasi competitor of Rapid Recon, but now under the same umbrella. But what's your tell us your presence, what you did, and what you gained.
Well, as Tim and I discussed, it's all about the engagement. And my choice of going to NADA was a very last minute opportunity for me. And I came in about 8 days before NADA started. And it was a very quick ramp up. I used technology and data to build out my days, to run my workshops, to see where I had to be, when I had to be, and basically schedule all my appointments. And then I used the events for furthering the networking and really drilling down on introducing what I do, where I do it, and how I can benefit the people that I'm working with. So in all essence, the NADA for me was fantastic, because there's not another opportunity to do it. There really isn't. But one thing I continuously said, it's got to be at least one more day longer, or you got to open up Thursday to the show floor, because Thursday was a wasted day for me, because there was only 2 workshops, and really what was I going to do other than go to Gillies at night, which was a fantastic opportunity as well. But they really got to open up the show floor for a longer period of time. And if you have 600 vendors, that's 150 vendors a day over 4 days. Now you relate that down to 2 days or 3 days or 2.5 days, you're at 220 per day. It's impossible.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
Well, as this gentleman we interviewed said, Sunday was probably their best day for actual genuine interaction with prospective and legitimate clients.
Absolutely.
And it's always tough because that third day is the day that everybody's pretty tired, and it's the keener dealers, the keener people that are looking to actually spend their money that come on day 3, because everybody else probably rolls out of bed at about noon. And that, of course, that's the other benefit of Dallas versus Vegas, because Vegas, they probably didn't get in till 9 or 10 in the morning. So, Tim, other than we only got to spend about 9 minutes visiting,
Right.
how do you think it paid off for you and your presence?
I think it paid off pretty well. We've from a customer data platform standpoint, my treasure data partner and I, we had both with some of the software as a service, the platforms that were on the floor. We had some fantastic conversations about what we can do to help them wrangle all that data on the back end. We met with a number of large dealer groups who are really interested in taking from 20, 30, 40 rooftops, even more than that, all that data and understanding, is the family that bought a Suburban from me also buying Subarus? And to Doug's part, something we preach about is once you do that with your data, with your insights, you can get back to what Larry has already heralded as back to the future, right? As what's old is new again. We were in Dallas, right? So it was really easy for me to tell, me being a DFW kid, right? Telling my Sewell story about my parents always driving a Cadillac or a Lexus. And it always was the same sales guy who brought the car to the house, who called them up and said, how things going, who my dad called when the check engine light came on and he booked our service appointment. One person, right? Once you do that, once you have that unified, truly unified, and I mean that, lots of people talking unification, they're not talking about it the way in the same context we are here. Once you do that, I think you've got an opportunity to greatly improve the customer experience, and not even make it be about the experiences, but about the relationship, and in looking at what the benefits are or the opportunities are to sell one more vehicle. So we had a little happy hour we did, we had a little dinner we did. We walked away with probably 10 dealers and a whole lot of what I'd call channel partners, folks that want to help us be in an enabling position to help everybody move in that direction. But again, as I said before, not everybody's ready to do it just yet.
Well,
Peter Smith had a link, a post on LinkedIn this morning that was awesome. That if you were in a vineyard, what kind of fruit would you take? The lowest hanging fruit is always prospecting, and if you're in the dealership service, how much better is it to talk to somebody that already knows you, is already inclined to buy from you, likes you, than it is from a stranger with an ad in their hand that's going to 4 other dealers? Right. It's just crazy, and the tech stuff. If you ever saw a chart of how technology was developed, they showed something like 36 inches long, and 1/8 of an inch at the end is when all the technology was developed. You go to Fulton and you go to Henry Ford and the cotton press, all of a sudden, boom, there it is. But it still comes down to being human. I swear to God, I always say to use the same analogy. I had to talk to somebody this morning in a credit card company. After 20 minutes of being on the line, I cut up the credit card. Just couldn't take it anymore. It was insane. But when you tie in the human to the tech stuff, it's all there. By the way, Tim, there was a rumor that you were cited with the Tasmanian devil. Is that true?
Yeah, he would not get off my tail. He was with me everywhere I went. Yeah.
Just one thing there I'd like to add. You take a company like Doug's and you say the A to Z or or A to Z, depending on what country you're in. The benefit, well, the people like Larry and I who started in the 80s in this business, we understand that single channel sales model. I led the country in sales because I was the liaison for every single one of my clients that they called me. They had my home number, they had my cell number, when the home number before cell numbers after that. So they had a 24-hour line to me, and I just said, I can help you faster than you can help yourself. So continue that relationship. And it built out, as Larry also mentioned, the article I wrote, the sales funnel, or the sales pyramid, as I call it, the referral and repeat business is at the top of the tree. That's where the best business is and the easiest opportunity of conversion. So if you continue the A to Z model, it's the best way. And I saw that in technology at the show in spades. If you blend the technology that's available now, you can opportunely grow exponentially.
And we also saw
One thing
that.
I did want to mention, Peter, too, is to Tim, is Peter posted I think the Wednesday before the show, Peter went into Sewell Cadillac and he gushed, and find it, or Peter can share it with you. He gushed at the treatment he got in the store. And it wasn't just the A to Z part. It was the fact when he walked in and how are you? And I think they offered him a cappuccino. He told him, hey, I'm not here to buy a car. I'm a dealer looking around. They said, we don't care. We just love you. And wow. And the other one.
It was absolutely incredible. They treated me like I was a star, even though that, if anything, I was absorbing everything that they did to benefit others. And they just said, hey, we'll sit you down in an office with our lead manager, and he'll tell you everything of the operations of our business, because all we want to do is build out the better business model.
Yeah, I mean, and that's going to be interesting. You see it when you look at companies like Rapid Recon and the Recon acquisition. You're seeing a whole cadence of companies now as part of that. And I think we saw a lot of that at NADA, where there's a lot of companies that are joining together to sort of create that experience. I mean, on Rapid Recon, it's on the recon side of the business, or the used car side of the business, but we also saw that in other areas. I mean, Stephanie, did you want to comment on sort of where you see that going as you go down that journey?
Sorry, as far as the relationship, right?
Yeah, I mean, you have now a group of what, 10 companies? I don't even know.
I actually don't know how big that is. We haven't had the pleasure of getting all of that information just yet. So, no, as far as the relationship building and creating that, we found at Rapid that not just, obviously we're dealing with the dealer, we're not dealing with the customer, but I feel like either way we're dealing with human beings. Right. So we're dealing with the relationship that you build with that person. And we try and, teach our dealers that utilize Rapid Recon that it is more than just a software program, right? So it's dealing with the human beings that are utilizing it and the relationship that you create. On our end, as far as the, dealership level, we have an account management team that their entire job is to build that relationship and have them be that go-to person. So that when they do need something, like Peter was saying, when they do need, check engine light comes on, that kind of thing. On our end, it's hey, we have this question, we about this issue. If they know that they have a person, they trust that person, then they're more likely to not only stay with the company or, come back to the dealership, but they're also more likely to refer people. Hey, I had a great experience with this salesperson. We have a great relationship with them. I'm going to refer them to all of my friends. If they have a bad experience, they're going to talk bad about the entire, the dealership in general. But that great experience builds not only that singular relationship, but it has that ripple effect of those referrals and seeing, more come from the relationship. We call it the return on relationship instead of the return on investment. So you take the time, and in reality, you're investing your time and your energy. So there is some sort of investment. But in reality, it's the return of the relationship that you're really getting.
Fantastic. We were talking a little bit about this year versus last year. What do you think is going to be different next year in terms of your plan? But more importantly, are you going to change anything based on what you learned this year? Let's go with Doug to start that.
Too new to rate. This industry is changing so quickly that even forecasting what we might do now next year would probably not be prudent, because 6 months from now, who knows what it's going to look like. I think it's going to be a wait and see type thing. So I think it's a little bit too early to determine what our plan of action will be in 2024 for NADA.
Because we heard thoughts, at least from the Rapid Recon team and others, that they were planning this 6, 8, 9 months out. What do you think, Tim? Do you think you're going to change anything next time?
Yeah, I think we'd definitely be more diligent. Actually, to the point Doug just made, I would say maybe 6 months out, we'll have a better idea of who our ideal prospect is, and even as valuable, who our best partners are, and come up with a game plan with them to make sure that we have meaningful conversations with them. And I can't answer the question right now on whether or not we'd have a booth or not, but I think we would just be much more diligent on the front end this time around.
Thanks for that. Peter, what do you think for next year, being to be your second?
Well, it's very simple. Is research. You got to do the research, and you got to know exactly who is going to bring value to your own personal or business equation. There's a lot of people in there that, you know what, key track things and this and that doesn't bring any value because it's a commodity. Whereas you look at a company like Rapid Recon or Trade Pending or Connect AI or any of these new innovative technologies that are developing a process that benefits your client. And those are the people that you have to do the research on and really schedule time to learn, because a 15-minute demo is not going to do it. So you have to not only schedule your research pre NADA, your demos at NADA to see if it is actually working, and then your follow-up with doing your meetings afterwards. And you might even need a secondary or tertiary meeting after that to really get a grasp of how you can introduce that to your clients and make benefit of it. Fantastic.
Larry, what do you think? Are you changing it up next year, or are you going to be just as innovative?
I don't know how innovative I was. When I go to these places, I try to tell some jokes, look people in the eye, shake some hands, and talk about my recruiting and my training. But to be very frank, I met some people that were so forward-thinking and so pleasant to be around, and some of them were on this damn phone call, that I got a feeling at the next one, I'll not only be talking what I do, but telling the tremendous advantages of what they do. And by the way, Tim, if you are going to have a booth next year, make sure there's M&Ms. I just can't stand to hear Jeff grumble anymore.
And Gail, are you going to be there live next year, or is it a virtual thing again? What do you think?
So what's funny is my mom recently retired. So the minute she retired, I hired her to do business development for us. And part of her job is going to be making a list of all the places I could do speaking engagements and then submitting the application. So I'll put in an application to be a speaker. I just have never done that for NADA before, but I definitely was asked to speak by multiple people. I just didn't do, I don't know, life was busy and I didn't do what I needed to do. But I think I'm going to come in person next year and make a presence. I think in terms of the booth, depending on our budgeting for how many conferences we go to, maybe I will partner up with someone like you guys did, or you guys were part of Rapid Recon. Maybe I'll do like a shared booth with someone or something like that. Because NADA is just enormous. Yeah, so it'd be fun to have a partner, like a vendor partner there.
That was a great hire. You never do better than your mother. Nobody really loves you except your mother.
Oh, my mom, I was like, do I have to pay you? And she's like, absolutely not. I was like, no, I'll pay you.
Gail, if I always said that if they broke into my house and find 4 dead bodies and 2 of them were eaten, every client would fire me. My wife would divorce me, and my mom would get on TV and go, "He's a good boy. He just gets hungry."
I know. Your mom always has your back. She has to.
Always.
You're just misunderstood, Larry.
But when you mentioned that thing about her working for free, I think Tim Hayden wants to hire her too. There might be a conflict here.
Jeff?
There is a very interesting business idea to actually somebody secure a booth of decent size there and make it for people like Peter and Larry and Gail and Tim,
and like outsource the booth to like because we could book like a massive 20 by 20 and then I could outsource pieces to people.
Yep. Exactly.
Yep.
I mean,
when you figure, as I commented earlier, we talk about experience, and the experience is here's the best expression from my experience. We're down in the 6,000s, in the booth 6,000, out of the 6,000 booths or whatever numbers. And we had to go do an interview at Experian, which was booth 488.
Yep.
I didn't know there was a 48. I thought it started at 100, 1,000.
6,000 booths?
Yep. Well, there was 600 and something booths, whatever there was, but they were numbered in the, I thought they started the 1,000, the 2,000s up to 6,000 where we were. Well, there was the 0,000. And it took us, it took us probably 10 minutes to walk down to the Experian booth. And we were nearly late because, we figured how long, didn't even know that end of the show existed. And, even that venue is one big giant room, but you still don't know where it is. So you can get lost. So again, these little booths, got lost. Wild Bill's cowboy boots and hats didn't get lost, but he was in the back corner. You could easily walk by him. But so final question for you. Is the ultimate goal of the industry, now we're leaving NADA generally, is the ultimate goal for the industry, is it to make it better for customers who actually pay for everything, or just sell stuff? And seeing as I'm going to go to Doug because he's like the experienced guy.
I think it's beyond just the customer. I think the ultimate goal is to make it better for both employees and customers. Certainly from our end, we focus certainly on the sales side, and the fact that we know turnover is going to rear its ugly head again. We have a hard time acquiring people that are talented, that want to stay in the industry. I think that's been a battle for years. I think the ultimate goal is to make it so that both our employees and our customers love, at least in our case, the sale and the retailing of vehicles. And if we've done that, then everything else should flow accordingly. So I think it's a twofold approach, at least in my opinion.
Actually, that's the point about the staff experience is a big thing. It's there's that joke, and you see it on the Facebook pages on Dealership Life and I Hate Dealerships and everything else. The joke is we're changing your pay plan because we can't afford it. Oh, excuse me, I got a call here. I'm buying a new boat.
Right.
There should be there should be a case where people love the industry at all levels. I agree.
And I think to take it one step further, I mean, I love technology. I love what technology can do to make a person's job easier. But I would in no way ever advocate that technology should take the place of a person. If I can make that person be more efficient and ultimately, again, they're enjoying it and the customer's enjoying it, then my technology's done the job. But when technology gets in the way and ruins what could be a good thing, then we've got a dilemma. And that's something that we focus on here at A to Z Sync is just that.
Yeah, there was actually, I don't know if you saw it, but there was actually a robot there running up and down the aisles with something with a little tablet on it. And I called it Sheldon from Big Bang Theory just because literally I walk along and there's a robot. And so the technology saying in essence, and there's AI and the AI is also one of the big things that was there. and replacing staff, because really the reason they promoted is because we can't count on staff.
Mhm.
But hey, if the experience was better, you could probably count on staff. Tim, thoughts there? Because you're like the technology guy.
Well, I mean, it's just what Doug said, and actually, I'll go back, 23 minutes ago when Doug was talking about his booth and how he partnered up with someone who could talk training, and having them right there a couple steps away. That was the song and dance Larry and I did together. If I could tell you a story about how you could have a single source of truth on everything that goes on in your dealer, but make it manageable for the humans, and make it what they need to know from that single source of truth. What Larry does to complement that, and what I totally agree with, and it's right in line with what Doug just said, is how to be human again, how to look people in the eyes and shake their hand, and everything we were saying before about building a relationship that exists between two people, maybe between a customer and other people. But that's what matters. It's not the clicks, the likes, the conversions, the repair order size. These are merely some leading indicators for some performance. At the end of the day, is that person coming back? Are they coming back for more? Which of course gets you into the church of selling stuff, but there's a parallel universe there that we have to respect.
That's a very, very good point. Peter.
Well, I believe that two things that are driving this industry, or should be driving this industry, is one, customer experience, because that's going to bring people in through the door. But without employee engagement and proper employee engagement, you're never going to create the customer experience. So I liken it to what everyone's saying is we need the human interaction, and it's very simple. When we go to a good restaurant, do we go up to the counter and grab our food? No. They bring the food to us. They know what the specials are. They know what the chef makes the best. They know what to recommend. They can offer the proper wines. That's all human intuition and intelligence. We're looking for that. We've gotten on this train that says, "Oh, I want to start it online." Well, we can do that with a restaurant, but we still go and we have the human interaction. So where do we need to go from there? Is, yes, training is there, but also coaching. We need to coach our people with the data that we're collecting and keep it into a singular module, not here, I don't know this answer, so I'm passing you off to this person. No. Or this person specializes in that. No, we have to be able to use technology to operate in a singular line. And that's where I believe it's going.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Other guests, Stephanie, what do you think of this?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the customer experience is something that we really focus on. At NADA, just to kind of go back for a second, we had our entire performance team there to show that our responsibility is not just giving you a product, but providing an experience, providing knowledge to you, growing with you. So, the experience of human beings and making sure that they feel heard, understood, and that what you're doing is providing value for them and their employees. So they really see that, oh, this person's not just going to pass me off to somebody else and then their job's over. You're really the one who's giving that person the best experience they can have. And why would they not keep coming back?
Terrific. And how about Larry or Gail, your comments on this?
Yeah, as far as what Doug said, he's 100% right. If you take care of your employees, they'll take care of your customers. Doug, you look like you're about my age. I used to go to sales meetings. They beat me to death, cursed so much a sailor would blush. And when you were demoralized in a puddle of mush, they'd say, go out and sell cars. Sell cars, I want to go kick my dog. And what Peter said, you get how everybody in this room has eaten something that's spicy at a restaurant, and you're sending up flares and smoke signals and can't find your waitress or server, as opposed to them running over and saying, hey, that's pretty spicy, I got you an extra drink. It's all about people. And as long as we embrace the technology and don't lose the fact that it's still the people business before it's the car business, we cannot go wrong. And I love the idea of the big giant booth. Can you imagine the chaos we could involve everybody in if we were together?
Oh, it would be fun.
Yeah, and Peter, I think you hit on something really important too, is for years, dealers have relied upon genericized training, but the smart dealers are doing individualized coaching and letting the data provide where I can affect behavior and make each individual rise to their own individual levels of success. And that's really important, because anymore, genericized training is just not going to work and everybody tunes it out.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's got to happen.
I don't know. I disagree. I think having 20 people sit in a room and watch a video is a great way to train people.
Yeah.
Folks, we're running out of time here. And final comments from Tim, Peter, and Doug. We'll go with Peter because he's staring right at me.
I would have to say that the most important thing moving forward is understanding the people side of this business. Once we understand the people side of this business and we take it from the car lot to the car business and start operating like a business, we will move forward in the right direction. We have the data capabilities. We have the technology to drive people into the stores for opportunities. But we have to really understand we're in business. And what do great businesses do? They invest in their people. And when they invest in their people, and I'm talking right from the top down, so many dealer principals, general managers, they need investment in their own intelligence, because we all know there's lots of people that have gotten into this business for a number of different reasons and a lot of wrong reasons, and we got to retrain them and recoach them into developing properly.
Great. And I just wanted to mention something to Tim too, because you mentioned the fact that data helps when somebody is a good customer at your Ford store, and then they come into the same group's Subaru store and they're a stranger. And what a great thing that would be if somebody comes in as they meet them. And I'm not a fan of salespeople carrying a tablet, but they literally enter the customer's name and, oh, you deal with Charlie over at Toyota. What a great
That's
thank you
it.
for seeing us.
Mm-hmm. That's it. I mean, to what you just described, the 50, something goes wrong, and the nearest thing for me to walk to is the Subaru dealer, right? And being able to walk in and be able to give them a couple of unique identifiers, my name and my phone number. They look me up and they say, we see you, as you said, we see you deal with Charlie, but we also have the ability to look at your service record and to understand what it is we might be able to do to help you or give you a ride over there. I think it's that simplest of things, and at the bottom of the list of everything, and it should be at the top, is really getting back to that empathetical relationship, empathy. When we talk about coaching, we talk about employee engagement, we talk about customer experience. Obviously, technology is a great enabler to improve all of these things, but what is that thing? It's about having us all have empathy with each other on the team and with the outside world in terms of the customers, the people who pay for everything. So, as I said, I just think as the great philosopher Jerry Reed once said, we got a long way to go and a short time to get there. This would be a really interesting year.
Bandit.
That's right.
Well, it's very funny because I worked with a dealer, and that dealer's opinion was the person who pays for everything is actually the OEM. And so he literally tailored everything toward getting the most money he could out of the OEM, and couldn't understand why he didn't have a good customer reputation, or the OEM hated him too. And Doug, last but far from least, I appreciate you spending the time being here. First time on the show. on this part of the show, you were with us in San Diego, which was tremendous. Nice to meet you.
Got the hat.
Exactly. We're so, look at this. We got everybody's wearing a hat except Peter wears yours.
You know what?
Hey, you got gray hair, so you don't have to worry about it. Doug, final comment.
Yeah, I would say it's funny. I put a post on LinkedIn the other day that said the more things change, the more they stay the same. We still see the same survey results from the same customers saying they don't like what they're going through right now. And now when you start factoring in the fact that now EVs are going to start coming out, and there's going to be this massive people like myself that know absolutely nothing about EVs and are going to need to be educated, the need to develop and be able to have a quality engagement with customers and separate yourself from the competition and that's the place I'm going to because everybody in the brother says that's the best store to go to. That's going to be important. I mean, the human element, I hope, will never leave the car buying industry because it's so critical and it's so rewarding when you're doing it right. And we see it all across the country with our clients, and I can't wait to do more. So yeah, that's my take.
Terrific. Thank you very much. Ian, I'll leave it to you to close the show. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. And those who left us already,
Thank you.
Appreciate
That
it.
was great. Appreciate it.
At the end of the day, it's all about the customer, as we already know. Technology is a huge advantage as long as it's implemented well. And my takeaway from this episode, as with NADA, was tailored training. The days of the carnival barker trainer who's training generalities are probably over. You got to look at how am I training my team to get that result based on data, but more importantly, based on customer experience. Thanks very much. Have yourself a great day and a great week.
Nice meeting you guys.
Thank you, gentlemen.
See you guys.
Thanks
for joining us. It was a great show, and follow us anywhere you would like on your favorite podcast, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and of course on our YouTube, or subscribe to our own channel.